The last echo of the human voice was drowned beneath the gavel of the Galactic Council. In the obsidian halls of the Citadel, bathed in the cold light of foreign suns, representatives from countless species passed judgment on a single defiant race, humanity. They were chaotic, destructive, unpredictable, and for reasons none of them could explain fully, terrifyingly ingenious. Earth had been banished. Its people scattered among the stars, shunned by every civilized world, denied entry to interstellar trade routes, excluded from the Council's archives of knowledge, and branded as the galaxy's pariahs. Humanity had become a ghost story whispered in the corridors of alien spaceships, a cautionary tale for young diplomats and scholars alike. And yet, the galaxy was not at peace. Somewhere in the dark between stars, a threat older than any council member's memory began to stir. The kind of danger that could reduce entire worlds to nothing but radioactive dust. And the very species that had been exiled, unpredictable, defiant, human, might be the only ones capable of confronting it. Among the stars, exile was a crucible, and humanity had been forged in fire. Now, the galaxy's survival might rest on the very race it had condemned. Captain Elijah Mercer ran a hand across the cracked glass of the cockpit viewport, tracing the jagged scar of a past solar flare that had burned across the surface of Mars decades ago. The ship, the Iron Warden, drifted through the black emptiness beyond the Oort cloud, carrying what little remained of humanity's fleet. "Elijah," said Commander Ava Lawson, her voice steady but tight. "They're not going to wait for us to get organized. The Viral are mobilizing fleets around every inhabited system near Orion's rift." Elijah didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed fixed on the void. 1,000 small fires of human settlements flickered like ghosts behind his vision. Mining colonies abandoned in haste, research stations stripped bare, satellites floating like tombstones. The memory of exile still cut deep. "They laughed at us when we were kicked out," he murmured finally. "Called us reckless, violent, unstable. And now," he let the word hang in the void between them, heavy as a gravestone. "They're begging for what they used to despise." Ava's hand hovered over the console. "We can't let sentimentality slow us. Viral warships are faster than anything we've got. If we don't act, we lose entire sectors. Humanity might be banned, but this isn't about pride anymore. It's survival." The Iron Warden slipped into warp, leaving behind the last vestiges of the human expanse. It was a fragile coalition of scavenged ships, patched hulls, and reluctant alliances, bound together by necessity more than loyalty. Elijah and Ava were its reluctant leaders, chosen not for diplomacy or politics, but for the brutal efficiency of experience. The galaxy had not forgiven humanity for its exile. Not completely. Some worlds, like Uranus Prime and Tolvar 4, still shot first and asked questions later when human ships appeared. Mercenaries hired to hunt rogue humans littered every frontier, their symbols of vengeance painted on the hulls of star cruisers. And yet, every warning, every attack, only strengthened humanity's resolve. Deep in the navigation console, a blinking warning demanded their attention, an uncharted gravitational anomaly. Elijah frowned. "Ava, that's not in any registry. Pull us out of warp, now." The anomaly wasn't merely spatial, it was temporal. The sensors warped, sending false readings, distorting reality like water over a prism. Ava's brow furrowed. "It's almost like a living thing," she muttered. "Or maybe it's using intelligence." Elijah swallowed hard. Humanity had grown accustomed to surviving the unthinkable, but this felt different. Somewhere behind the anomaly, the Viral fleets moved like predators circling a cornered prey. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Elijah said. "And get the comms ready. If this thing's sentient, we need to talk, not shoot." The anomaly shuddered as if responding. Lights flickered across the bridge, strange signals threading through the ship's systems. For the first time in years, Elijah felt the old thrill, the sharp, terrifying edge of discovery, coupled with the dread of uncertainty. "Captain," Ava said, her voice tight, "I'm picking up transmissions in a language none of our translators recognize. But it's coherent. They're aware of us." Elijah's hand hovered over the command console. "Then we make the first move." Humanity's exile is over, if only because the galaxy has no other choice. The anomaly opened like a wound in the fabric of space, revealing a corridor of shifting stars, each glittering like fire trapped in ice. And there, at the center, hovered a presence both immense and terrible, the consciousness of an entity older than the oldest council records, radiating thought directly into the minds of the humans. We have watched. We have waited. We need you, Elijah exhaled. Humanity had been shunned, hunted, and scattered. But for the first time since the exile, the universe had asked for them, not as criminals but as saviors. And humanity would answer. Elijah Mercer's hands hovered over the controls, trembling slightly, a rare show of vulnerability for a man who had steered humanity through more crises than most could imagine. The anomaly stretched before them like a living cathedral, pulsing with alien light and resonating with a hum that seemed almost sentient. Captain, Ava Lawson said, her tone tight with disbelief. Are we actually supposed to go inside it? Elijah's gaze never wavered from the shifting corridor. If we don't, the Varl will wipe out every human settlement in the Orion sector. And worse, they'll fall to whatever that thing is. Behind them, the rest of the crew prepared for what no one could name. Engineers bolted panels, medics calibrated emergency nanites, and soldiers cleaned their weapons with the kind of methodical precision born of long years of exile and near-constant combat. Each human aboard the Iron Warden carried the weight of centuries of shame, of whispered fears about their race's innate recklessness. Now they had a chance to rewrite that narrative, not just for themselves, but for the galaxy that had condemned them. Elijah keyed the intercom. All stations brace for entry. We don't know what's waiting, and we don't get a second chance. The Iron Warden shuddered as it slipped through the edge of the anomaly. The stars themselves bent and twisted, streaming past the hull in impossible directions. The navigation system screamed in protest, throwing warnings Elijah had long since learned to ignore. And then they saw it. A fleet unlike any human eyes had ever witnessed. Ships of living metal, organic structures fused with technology, pulsating like the rib cage of some colossal cosmic creature. The Varl warships were dwarfed by their presence, powerless against the sheer immensity and intelligence radiating from these vessels. A voice, not spoken but directly impressed upon their minds, pulsed through the bridge. You have been exiled. You have been shunned. Yet only you can stand against what is coming. Will you rise, or will you fall like all others before you? Elijah swallowed. We rise, he said. His voice was calm, but every fiber of his being buzzed with tension. Humanity rises. The anomaly delivered them into a remote system, starless and silent, the perfect staging ground for what came next. It was here they met the emissaries, the Valith, beings older than even the Galactic Council, who had watched the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Their forms shimmered between dimensions, sometimes taking shapes that resembled the creatures of human nightmares, sometimes forms that evoked awe and wonder. Captain Mercer's first instinct was to draw a weapon. Ava's hand stayed firmly on his shoulder. Wait, listen. The Valith communicated not with words but with emotion, memory, and vision. Images of extinct species flashed before the humans' eyes, empires that had fallen because they lacked the courage to unite, worlds reduced to dust because they had underestimated the threat lurking beyond the stars. Then came a vision of humanity, scattered colonies fighting tooth and claw to survive, improvising technology, defying odds, refusing to submit. The Valith's message was clear. Humanity had the spark the galaxy had banished, the spark that could ignite salvation. But why us? Ava asked aloud, her voice trembling. Why the humans? Why not the Galactic Council? A presence, immense, impossible to describe, brushed against her consciousness like a wave. Because you are unpredictable. Because you adapt when all else fails. Because you survive when survival seems impossible. And because the galaxy cannot be saved by those who would only preserve their own authority. Elijah clenched his fists. The weight of centuries of exile pressed against him. But for the first time, it felt like purpose, not punishment. Their training began immediately. The Valith taught them how to manipulate energy in ways that defied physics, how to predict and counter the strategies of the Varal, and how to synchronize their minds across vast distances to act as one cohesive unit. Every human aboard the Iron Warden absorbed the lessons, their minds stretching beyond anything they had imagined. But with knowledge came cost. The Valith warned them that every advantage had a price. Using these powers risked burning out the human mind, leaving them shells of what they once were. And the more they learned, the more the Varal's shadow fell upon them. On the third day of training, Elijah stood on the observation deck, staring at a distant cluster of stars. "Ava," he said softly, "we're about to do something no human has ever done. If we fail, it's not just us who die, it's everyone we've ever called neighbor, friend, or family. Entire sectors wiped from existence. And the Council, they'll watch. They'll judge us again." Ava joined him, her eyes reflecting the unearthly lights of the Valith. "Then we'll make them eat those judgments. We don't fight for approval anymore. We fight because we must." The first skirmish came sooner than they expected. A Varal hunting party had traced the humans into the anomaly, underestimating their speed and resilience. Elijah gave the command. "All units, engage." The battle was unlike anything humanity had fought before. Ships moved with a speed and precision born from their Valith-guided training. Energy beams warped, dodged, and reformed mid-flight. The humans anticipated every maneuver, every ambush, their minds linked in a symphony of instinct and strategy. Yet even in victory, there was cost. Ava was grazed by a plasma shard that sang through her neural network, leaving her with a temporary disconnect from the Valith interface. Engineers scrambled to stabilize the ship's systems, and medics tended to the wounded. Elijah watched the carnage with a heavy heart, but also with fierce pride. "Look at them," he muttered to himself, voice low. "They said we couldn't survive. They said we couldn't be trusted. And here we are, humanity, unbowed, standing against annihilation." The anomaly pulsed again, its light bathing the Iron Warden in spectral hues. The Valith's presence enveloped them. "You are ready. The galaxy will call upon you, and when it does, you must not falter." Elijah exhaled, feeling a strange calm. "Then let them call," he said. "Let them see what they banished." The Iron Warden and its crew prepared to return to the wider galaxy, carrying knowledge and power that could tip the scales of war. Humanity's exile had ended, but the path to redemption, fraught with peril, sacrifice, and the weight of universal expectation, was only beginning. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Varal fleets gathered. Unaware that the exiles they once hunted were now the only thing standing between life and extinction. And humanity, once the galaxy's most reviled race, had the chance to become its salvation. The galaxy trembled. Across the void of Orion's rift, the Varal armada spread like a dark storm, black ships blotting out distant stars. Reports from human colonies trickled in through fractured comm channels. Worlds under siege, cities burning, billions at risk. The Galactic Council watched from the Citadel, powerless and divided. Their previous judgments now meaningless against the scale of the threat. But in the heart of the storm, the Iron Warden sailed steadily, carrying humanity's last hope. Captain Elijah Mercer stood on the bridge, staring into the swirling darkness ahead. Beside him, Commander Ava Lawson and the crew moved with quiet, precise efficiency. They were no longer merely exiles. They were a weapon, a force refined through hardship and vision. "Elijah," Ava said, her voice tight but calm, "we have to hit their command nexus first. If we take out their leadership, the rest of the fleet will falter." Elijah nodded. "Agreed, but it's more than just a target. We need them to see humanity isn't the same as when they banished us. They've underestimated us for the last time." The Iron Warden accelerated, slipping past the first line of Varal warships. Energy beams lanced through space, but human ships moved with uncanny precision. It wasn't just skill. It was the Valith's teachings fused with human ingenuity. Weapons adapted mid-flight, shields reformed before impact. Strategies shifted faster than any algorithm could predict. In the midst of battle, Elijah caught sight of the Varal flagship, a behemoth of living metal and dark energy. Its presence radiated authority, fear, and malice. "Target locked," he whispered. "We take that ship down and the rest fall in line." Ava turned to him, eyes blazing. "And if we fail?" Elijah smiled grimly. "Then humanity goes down with dignity. But we won't fail." The Iron Warden led a squadron directly into the heart of the Varal fleet. Energy tore across the void as ships collided in a symphony of destruction. Yet despite the chaos, the humans moved as one. Every maneuver, every counterattack felt preordained, as though the Valith itself flowed through their collective consciousness. When they reached the flagship, Elijah and Ava led a boarding party. Inside, the ship's corridors pulsed with alien life, shifting and alive, responding to their presence. The Varal leadership waited, a monstrous entity, its form writhing between shadows and metal. It radiated dominance, a cruel intelligence that had thought humanity could be crushed with a glance. Elijah stepped forward, voice steady. "You judged us. You exiled us, and you thought we would perish. But look around you. Humanity survives. Humanity fights, and humanity will not be defeated." The Varal commander lashed out, its tendrils of energy smashing through corridors, tearing apart walls and floors. Yet the humans adapted. Shields surged, weapons reformed, and strategies shifted with impossible speed. Ava channeled her energy, striking at the heart of the entity's command nexus, disrupting its control over the fleet. Pain seared Elijah's side from a glancing energy blast, but he pressed on, his focus absolute. "For every world you've destroyed, for every life you've taken, this ends now." The boarding party converged, surrounding the Varal leader. In a final, coordinated strike, humanity's combined might, human ingenuity, Valith guidance, and raw determination pierced the entity. The flagship convulsed, its dark form unraveling, and then exploded outward in a shock wave that echoed across the fleet. In the silence that followed, the remaining Varal ships faltered, then retreated, unable to maintain cohesion without their command structure. Humanity had done what no other species could, turned fear into strength, chaos into strategy, and exile into redemption. The Iron Warden drifted among the wreckage, battered but alive. Crew members moved quietly, tending the wounded and surveying the aftermath. Elijah and Ava stood together on the observation deck, watching the void settle into a fragile calm. "Do you think the Council will forgive us?" Ava asked softly. Elijah shook his head. "Forgiveness isn't why we did this. Redemption isn't about them. It's about us. Humanity survived, and now the galaxy knows we're more than what they feared. We're capable, we're necessary, and we won't forget the price we paid to get here." Across the stars, colonies that had once been abandoned were now sending messages of gratitude. Tentative alliances forming as species realized the humans they had shunned had saved them all. The Valith presence receded, leaving humanity stronger, wiser, and infinitely more respected in a galaxy that had once declared them pariahs. In the weeks that followed, Captain Mercer and Commander Lawson traveled among the liberated systems, helping to rebuild, stabilize, and advise. They carried no illusions. Humanity had scars, both visible and unseen, but they also carried hope, a spark ignited in exile and now burning bright across the cosmos. One evening, Elijah stood on the bridge, staring at the endless tapestry of stars. Ava joined him, and together they watched the distant flicker of a newborn colony, lights blinking like the pulse of a living heart. "Do you think the galaxy will ever forget our exile?" she asked. Elijah smiled, a rare warmth breaking through his stoic exterior. "Maybe, maybe not. But they'll never forget what we did. Humanity was cast out, and now we've returned stronger than ever. That's enough." And as the Iron Warden sailed into the infinite black, carrying humanity's reclaimed honor, Elijah realized something profound. Exile had not broken them. It had forged them. And in the crucible of the stars, humanity had found not just survival, but a legacy, a redemption that no council, no empire, and no darkness could ever take away. The galaxy had once turned its back on humanity. Now it would never look away.